I going to do? I wonder if, is this, I mean, if I press, maybe, I don't know. Is there anybody out there? It's so difficult to know. I mean, I just don't understand all of this old tech, all the stuff that you do on these web pages. I mean, that's so quaint, calling them web pages after little spiders making all the communication. Yeah, it's not, no, not spiders. It might as well be, for all I know about how this lot works. Well, I'm just going to hope that there's somebody out there who's going to be able to hear me, because I really need to talk this problem through. I mean, I've been stuck in a garage through lockdown because I don't belong here. I've got my stuff, but I just need to get, I'm sorry, I'm not making much sense, am I? No. You see, the thing is, I can't tell you what the thing is. So, is there even anybody there? I don't know. I tell you what, I'm not making much sense at the moment, but if I explain everything, then hopefully you guys can help me fix this thing, because until I've got it fixed, I'm not going home. You see, this. Let's just call it my travelling device. You see, because there's some very exciting news that I can tell you. You see, I am the curator of the Invisible Museum. Have you heard of it? No, of course you haven't. It's quite a distance from here. But I'm the curator of the Invisible Museum. And I'm not really supposed to tell anybody about this because I might mess with history. Can you keep a secret? Can you believe the unbelievable? Are you the sort of people that quite like to know things that other people don't? Thought you might be. The thing is, I'm a time traveller from the year 2250. I've got stuck here in 2020. I mean, partly it's because this thing's not working, and then there's also the fact that I really didn't want to travel right now, not in time. I mean, all this COVID-19, I don't want to take it back in time to places where they don't have the medicine that you guys have and can't develop vaccines. And I don't want to take it forward to where I'm from, where we eradicated it. Well, quite some time. Well, you eradicated it. But anyway, I can't. I'm a time traveller and I work for a museum called the Invisible Museum. What I do, I created this. Well, I didn't create it on my own. I created it with my friend Tam, which is why I'm so stuck about fixing it, because the communication's gone down, so I can't talk to Tam about how to fix it. See, normally, when I've got a problem, I just message Tam and she'll look up what the local parts, the things from the time I'm in that will help me to fix it. But I can't, so I've got to work it out for myself. But tell you what, if I talk to you about some of the amazing people I've met, if I show you some of the artifacts that I travel with, maybe me just talking it all through to you guys will help me work out how to get this thing working again. So when this is all over, I can go home. And right now I can talk to Tam. You see, she is an absolute genius. She's an engineer and a scientist. I'm a historian. That's what all my qualifications are in. I just dabble with this sort of thing, but it is fun. It allows me to travel back in history and talk to people whose stories are not always told. You see, that's why it's called the Invisible Museum. It's my job to collect artifacts from the museum stores and to make amazing exhibits for all the visitors to come and learn about the people from history whose stories have not always been told. People of colour, women, people with disabilities, people who've made an enormous contribution to the history of science and technology, engineering and maths, and yet whose stories are not told. Unfortunately, what with them being the invisible people, our museum stores are not always that full, so that's why I developed this. Because what I do, I travel. I go and I see the real people in their real lives, and I talk to them, and I collect their stories, and I collect artifacts from them, and I take them back to the museum. It's the most amazing job. I mean, not everyone at the museum is particularly happy with the time travel bit. We really can't condone this kind of dangerous behaviour. The museum is most definitely not insured for these kinds of trips. We would like to say, however, thank you for the artifacts that you bring back. They don't know what to do with me, because I'm always bringing such amazing things back. In fact, I'm going to show you something. Right. Oh, it's always so tricky to decide what to show. Oh, there's so many things. All of these boxes, they're just full. I've got boxes, I've got back. Ah, this one. This is one of my favourites. This is a smoke hood or safety hood. It's fantastic. I carry it with me wherever I go. I mean, firstly, because if you do this when somebody's following you, they tend to disappear quite quickly. But also, I carry it with me because it's so useful. It was developed to help people breathe in smoke-filled environments. It has these long tubes which dangle close to the floor. And I'm sure you know that the hot air and smoke rises, so the cleanest, coolest air in a smoke-filled room is on the floor. But if you're a firefighter and you need to move quickly through a building to help people, then it's better to be able to stand upright. And that is what this was for. These long tubes allow you to breathe the cleanest, coolest air directly into your lungs while still walking upright. It's an amazing piece of equipment. And it was invented by Garrett Morgan. You might not have heard of him. One of the reasons is because as a black man in the early 20th century, which is when Garrett Morgan invented this, he had to employ a white actor to pretend to be the inventor, to even get conversations going with the fire department who so badly needed this equipment. This is even one of the forerunners, one of the prototypes that was used to develop gas masks. It's a fantastic and really useful piece of equipment. I mean, Garrett Morgan, he's also the gentleman, or one of the people who thought about putting the amber light into traffic lights instead of just red for stop and green for go, giving you that breather, that warning. Both of his inventions have saved countless lives. And yet, I bet many of you haven't heard of him. Who else can I tell you about? Ah, yes. This headscarf belonged to Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was a slave. She was born into slavery and she had epilepsy. Her epilepsy was brought on by a head injury inflicted on her by her slave owner. And yet, despite all of this, Harriet escaped. And not only did she escape, but she helped countless other people to do the same. She used to help with the Underground Railroad. She got many, many slaves out of their slavery. One of the ways that she used to do that was she created songs that the slave workers could sing and sing to each other that would communicate messages that their masters didn't understand. I carry this with me to help me think about resilience, to help me think about how you can just keep trying. Fantastic woman. So interesting. What else am I going to show you? This one. Just looks like a school notebook, doesn't it? A few notes in it. But this is a notebook of Rosalind Franklin. I was visiting Rosalind on this journey because we're doing an exhibition about women in science. And Rosalind's an amazing woman. You may or may not have heard of her, but she was instrumental in discoveries around DNA, the human building blocks. That's what's in this notebook. But when I chatted to her, she actually wants to be remembered for so many other things she did. She's remembered for the DNA because it's an incredible feat, but also because she didn't get the recognition for it. The Nobel Prize for DNA went to Crick, Watson and Wilkins. Now, she doesn't want to be remembered just for the things that she didn't do. She also did some incredible research into the tobacco plant virus, research that will be helping right now in the design of the vaccine for COVID-19, because she looked at the structure of viruses and how they work. She also looked at the structure of coal, which was an incredibly useful piece of research during the war. She's a fantastic woman. Actually, I didn't ask her if I could keep the notebook because, well, you know, I mentioned that this has been playing. See, on this trip, I was visiting various people, and then suddenly, when I was talking to Rosalind, it packed up and it threw me forwards in time. I didn't quite know what to do, but I thought if I could manage to visit Lillian, she'd know what to do. Because Lillian I'd seen before when we did an exhibition on women in the Air Force and the Army and the Navy, women in the armed services. Lillian, have you heard of her? Lillian Bader? Oh, you haven't? Okay, well, she's an incredible woman too. I have one of her medals here. You see, Lillian was one of the first black women to sign up with the Women's Auxiliary Air Force. And she trained to be an engineer. She passed first class. She's an amazingly talented woman. And when I first met her, she was just so fascinated by this. I knew she was the person to visit, to chat to when it wasn't working. So I managed to program it and send myself back to see Lillian. And Lillian went through my boxes and she went through all of my stuff and she said to me, "You've got it. Everything you need to fix your device is here. All you need to do is..." And then that thing threw me to Wiltshire in 2020, right in the middle of all of this. And I haven't been able to go anywhere since because it's really not working. And like I said, not the best thing to do to travel right now. But you see, if Lillian thought that I've got everything I need, then I must have. Right. I think the best thing that we can do is to go through those people whose stuff I have here, whose artifacts I have with me. If I go through their stories, if I tell you about their artifacts, then hopefully something will trigger. Right, now, where did I start? Ancient Greece. Now this might not look like much to you, and really not supposed to wear these sorts of things. I mean, at the museum, the bosses like to think that everything should be pristine, but the problem is we don't tell anybody about the time travel. And you know what? They all think that we've just created these items because they look so new. So if I wear them, you know, I'm just doing everyone a favour, making them look a bit more realistic, a bit more aged. And it is just so cool to be able to wear Hypatia's cloak. Hypatia, have you heard of her? Hypatia, you might have heard her called Hypatia, but that's a Victorian corruption of the whole Latin, Greek. Why? A bit like Boudica, Boadicea, Boudica, and she likes Boudica, by the way. Never pronounce the name wrong of a woman who's fighting the Romans when she doesn't know who you are and she has a spear. I had to do a lot of fast talking to get out of that one, I can tell you. But I did. And we've got a spear at the museum. Anyway, back to Hypatia. Hypatia was an incredible woman. And she wore this cloak. Now this cloak was a pretty strong symbol because this is a philosopher's coat, a tribon, but it's also a man's cloak. And yet Hypatia wore it. She wore it when she went to market. She wore it when she taught. She wore it when she advised Aristius, the Roman governor of Alexandria, because that's how important she was. People came from all over the world to listen to her speak and to be taught by her. She was an incredible woman, so knowledgeable, so fascinating. And yet also, she was so interested in hearing what I had to say when I visited her. I mean, I tell you what, shall I just tell you the things that I talked to her about? I mean, she was the most knowledgeable philosopher and mathematician and astronomer that we know about, female at her time. And yet, these things here, she didn't quite know what you know. You've got more knowledge than one of the most intelligent women of her time. So these, you might notice them. I don't know if you know which one's which, but if we look at this, we've got the sun here. It's yellow. Really, actually, do you know what? The sun's white. It's just how we look at it. But anyway, the sun. Then we've got Mercury. Then we've got Venus. Then we've got Earth. Then we've got Mars. Then we've got Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. We've got those planets in our solar system. We can look at them through telescopes. In fact, have any of you seen the comet that there is at the moment? Just in the northern horizon. It's amazing. Hypatia noticed things like that too, being an astronomer, but she didn't have one of these. She couldn't look at the stars and the planets through a telescope. She could only look with her eyes. How many of these planets could she see? Well, she couldn't see Neptune, because Neptune is the first planet that was discovered by mathematics alone. And she didn't know about Uranus. Now, although you can just see Uranus in the sky, Uranus, which, if you didn't know, used to be called George when it was first discovered. I like that little fact. It was, after the king. But then it got changed to Uranus because that felt a little bit more fair for the whole world to call it that, rather than after King George of England. Anyway, Uranus you can see in the sky if you use your eyes and you know exactly where and when to look. But the thing is, the Greeks didn't know exactly when and where to look because they didn't understand the night sky like we do. They called these wandering stars, because if you've ever looked up at the sky, you will have seen perhaps the constellations in the sky. Perhaps you've seen the Plough or the Big Dipper. Perhaps you've seen Orion with his belt. These constellations, the stars, stay in the same places as they move through the night sky. And yet these wandering stars move about more erratically. Jupiter, for example, here, Jupiter moves through the 12 signs of the zodiac, one each year. And as the Greeks looked at them, they wondered what this strange wandering star was, slightly brighter and not appearing to stay as they felt it ought to, because the way that they saw the world, they thought the world, the earth was the centre, and around it was spheres called the heavens, with all the planets and the sun moving around the earth. But as you know, it's a solar system because we all orbit the sun. And that is what I told Hypatia about. Now, I have to be really careful when I talk to people in the past because I can't alter history. So sadly, I had to time my visit to Hypatia really well. As was sometimes the case then, Hypatia was killed for her views because she didn't think in the way that other people thought at the time. And so I sat with her just before the mob arrived, and I told her about the wandering stars, the planets. She was amazed. And she wasn't superior with me in any way. She was just fascinated by what I had to tell her. She just loved knowledge. Incidentally, do you know what the Greek for wandering star is? Planetus. It's where we get the name of the planets. They are still wandering stars. And that's the other thing that I did with Hypatia. She helped me to make something that is absolutely superb. I'm going to show you this. Have a look at this. Isn't this a beautiful piece of engineering? at that. All these sections move. I wonder if any of you can guess what it is. Some people say to me that they think it's a clock. Some people say it looks like a sundial. Some people say that it looks like a compass for telling the direction. And do you know what? It's all of these things and none of these things. This is called an astrolabe. And an astrolabe is a device, maybe you could consider the first computer. It can do over 400 separate calculations. It can tell you the time. It can tell you when certain bodies in the sky, stars, planets, etc., where they will be and when. It can tell you what direction you're facing in, even in the middle of the night when you have no other visual clues. This is an incredible piece of equipment. And until I visited Hypatia, we had nothing more than a few letters from one of her students, Dionysius, saying that he'd had her advice on how to make one. Everybody felt they weren't sure enough to say that she knew how to. I can show them this because she made it. She made it with me. 400 calculations, just a few bits of wood held loosely together with a brass pin. Pretty impressive. So that was the first person who I met. Now, as I said to you, this isn't working. Now, the things that aren't working in here are the communication, the calibration, and the navigation. I've got to figure out what the best way to sort this out is. What's going to be the most efficient navigation? Navigation. This can tell you what direction you're facing in, no matter whether it's dark or not. This device and devices like it are what sailors have used for hundreds of years to navigate the seas. Navigation. I'm going to put this into my time pack. Now, the time pack, various different sections of it. I think if it goes into this part here, and I seal it up, we might be able to get these lights to go. Can I? Oh. Okay. Green. Green is a good colour. Flashing is not good. But it was just solid red, so hopefully we fixed one bit of it. I mean, flashing, but red. Okay, I still need to fix the communication and the calibration anyway. I tell you what, I'm going to take this off. Let's have a look at who I visited next. Now, the next person I saw was a lady called Mary. Now, I'd visited Mary once before when she was younger, when we did a history of children in STEM. Because I don't know how old any of you are out there, whether you're old or young or I don't know. But Mary started her most amazing scientific journey when she was just a child. She found her most incredible, well, her first most incredible find when she was just 12 years old. You don't know who I mean yet, do you? Mary gave me everything that's in that box. Mary gave me these. Her name's Mary Anning. Mary Anning is what we'd call a paleontologist. She called herself a fossilist. And she was, to begin with, a 12-year-old girl who found the first full ichthyosaur skeleton in the UK. She found plesiosaurs. She found an incredible amount of bones and fossils of dinosaurs. She lived on the Dorset coast, and she was an incredible young lady because so many things in her life were set against her. She was poor, and as a poor young woman, she didn't have much education. That was a really tricky start for me. From there, One of the reasons she became a fossilist was because her father died when she was only 11, sorry. Her father died and he was the main wage earner for the family. Fossil hunting and selling small fossils to tourists had been something that Mary and her brother Joseph had done with their father for many years for a few pennies. But when their father died and left them with debt and no family income, Mary and her brother decided to continue finding these fossils and selling them as a way to help the family. And that first full skeleton that Mary found was due to her tenacity, another reason that she has succeeded. Her brother Joseph actually found the head, the skull, and he said, "We should sell this, this is impressive." "No," said Mary, "if the skull is in there, then so is the rest of the body, and we must wait." And Mary waited and waited an entire year for the full skeleton to be exposed due to the weather and the erosion of the cliff. And she took that full skeleton and she sold it for £23. Now, £23 doesn't sound like much, but imagine that her family was in debt to what in sort of 2020 times amounted to about £9,000 worth of debt. And Mary managed to pay off about a fifth with her fossil. So if you are children out there, you should be contributing to your family income a bit better than you are. 12 and a fifth of the family's income. I mean, impressive, eh? But she's an incredible woman, and this time when I visited her as an adult in her shop. She wanted to give me a full ichthyosaur skeleton then to take back to the museum, and boy, would I have been popular. But you know what I said about messing with history? I knew that in a few days' time, the King of Saxony was due to visit her shop and buy that very skeleton, so I had to say no. But Mary did, like I say, send me back with a whole box of things. Do you want to see some of them? So first of all, we have what Mary and her father and her brother used to call verteberries. And they used to sell these for a few pennies to the tourists. Look at that. Do you know what it is? I mean, vertebrae. They're parts of the back of dinosaurs. This is time travel. Holding on to these things that are millions of years old. Just incredible. She also gave me one of these. Have you ever seen one of these before? This is a belemnite. Belemnite was a creature that lived underwater because the UK was part of a huge sea. Most of the fossils that we find here are of water creatures because we were in fact underwater. And this was the central section of a squid-like creature that used to swim with huge tentacles. And in here, I don't know if you can see, but right in here, there's ink, because just like a squid or an octopus, a belemnite used to squirt ink in order to frighten off its predators and also to confuse its prey. And Mary discovered that if you grind down the ink inside here and mix it with water, you can write with ink that is millions of years old. How incredible is that? Oh, and this one. Now, this is another thing that Mary helped to find out what it was. It's a little bit bumpy. Sometimes people shine it. It's called coprolite. Anyone know what coprolite is? Yeah, it's dinosaur poo. Dinosaur poo. Mary was one of the first people to work out that that's what it was. Fossilized feces. Incredible. You see, Mary was, like I said, a tenacious woman. She used to fossil hunt in all weathers. She had a little dog who she trained called Trey, who would come with her. And she found a place with fossils. Trey would sit at that spot while she went and got her tools and gathered them to get out the fossils from the cliff face. But it's a dangerous job. Mary used to wear a top hat, a man's top hat, because rather than the straw bonnet or headscarf that was popular for women at the time, a top hat provided a small amount of protection against rockfalls. Poor Trey wasn't so lucky. Trey was killed by a rockfall once. For me, it just proves just how brave Mary was. Right, now, if we've looked through all of my things that Mary gave me, and Lillian said that there's got to be something in here from everyone who helps me fix this, let's have a look at the time pack. You see, this bit, this is the time vortex. This spins into an infinite hole when I'm travelling. These bits, well, to tell you the truth, I don't know what they all do. And down here, we've got these sections. This one's all burnt out. I don't know if you can see that silver around the outside. I think that might be one of the problems. You see, you know I said communication, calibration, navigation. Well, we fixed navigation. Now I've got to fix calibration and communication. This bit, this is all about the calibration. It's all about measuring the different places that I need to go to. You see, calibration is about setting the parameters, putting the ends of things, making sure that you know what distance you're measuring. So I need to have things that tell me how far back in time to go and that stop me going too far forwards in time. I mean, in here, I've got nanobots. They're from home. They're incredible, so cute and so clever. They can fix any technology except this, it seems. I have tried. And then I've got down here some rocks from, well, I'm not quite sure where, but they look pretty old. I think they're from some of the first human structures. I think that's what Tam told me. This thing here, this looks like one of those card things that you have in your phones that you think are so clever, your smart phones. They're quite clever for now, but you just wait, it gets cleverer. And the next one, I don't know what was supposed to be in it, but whatever it is, it's got broken. And then there's the communication, the way that I talk to Tam. I mean, I tried using your tech, but, you know, the internet doesn't talk to 2250. What could I use? What might fix my problem? I know. I'm going to grind up the ink in here. I'm going to dip it in some water. I'm going to write to Tam, and I'm going to give it to your postal workers, and they're going to put it in the postal system to sit there, but it's not going to 2020 if I do that, is it? 2020, well, no, it is. It's just staying in 2020. It's not getting to 2250. I think it's got to be about the calibration. Fact, earliest human structures, mid-human period, my period. I don't want to go back and encounter any dinosaurs, do I? This little piece of dinosaur poo looks just the right size to go in here. I think I've got the answer. Ha-ha! Right, now let's try again with the programming. Can we make it steady and green? Let's see. Oh, still not quite working, though the other side appears to be doing better. Let me see. Green, solid green. We've got solid green. The back has gone solid green. The side has gone solid green. The front's still blue, but blue is almost there. Right, I've got one more person to tell you about. One more person I visited, and that's Hedy. I don't know if you've heard of Hedy Lamarr. If you have, if you're one of the older ones, you might have done. Hedy was an actress in the 1950s, an incredible actress, very beautiful. She used to get amazing leading lady parts with no lines at all, or very few. In fact, she used to get so bored of just being the beautiful woman in all of the films that whilst all her Hollywood friends were out partying, she was inventing. she was friends with Howard Hughes, the aviator, the man who designed planes, the man who wore tissue boxes on his feet. He's a whole nother story. But Hetty was friends with him, and she borrowed a chemistry lab and some chemists from him. And she invented a tissue box with a special disposal end. Would be quite useful, wouldn't it? She also was really, really fascinated in helping the war effort. And so she invented something that she thought all GIs travelling in Europe would need. A special cube that you could put in water to make Coca-Cola. She gave me one. Do you want to see it? I'll move these things back up here. You see, oh, it's gone awfully sticky in the time journey. See, some of Hetty's inventions didn't work quite so well. I don't know whether this one did or whether it didn't. But the idea is that you take a glass and you fill it with water, just ordinary still water. Yep. And then you take your fizzy cola cube and you drop it in. Now, Hetty said this one didn't work, but oh my goodness, can you see that? Can you see it starting to make bubbles and turn the water into an orangey brown? I wonder. It's, oh my goodness, it looks like it might actually be making water into fizzy Coca-Cola. Can you see it bubbling there? That's incredible. Hetty, you said it didn't work. Ah, cheers. Oh, Hetty, you said it didn't work. Oh, yeah. No, it didn't work. Hetty made all sorts of things, and some of them, obviously, more useful than others. But the science behind making that bubble, Hetty told me all about it. Do you want me to show you? You see, you can even do this at home. All you need is some acid in the form of lemons and some alkali. I'll show you that in a minute. So what you need to do is you need to squeeze yourself some lemon juice. You see, I'm going to make lemonade because the Coca-Cola obviously really didn't work very well. So I'm going to squeeze some lemons till I've got a nice amount of lemon juice in there. And then once I've got the lemons all ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glass and I'm going to put that lemon juice into it. Now, first of all, who of you have drunk lemon juice? Right. Now, oh, that was sharp. The thing with fizzy pop, lemonade, Coke, whatever, is there's a reason why your grown-ups probably tell you not to drink it too often. And that is because it needs quite a lot of sugar. So in goes the sugar to make the lemon juice a little more palatable. Okay, one. It's going to need more than one. Two. I'm going to give it a stir. We'll see where we go. Okay, and it's quite strong now. So what you also need is some water to make it a little bit more lemonade-y. Quite nice. But what there isn't is any fizz. So what you need for that is an alkali. I've just got bicarbonate of soda. It's perfectly regularly used piece of baking. And so what I do, baking ingredient, take a little spoonful of it, I pop it in. Can you see that? And can you hear that? We've got fizzy, sweet, lovely lemonade. Oh, it's hot work here. You could try that yourself. But I don't know how this is going to fix my communication, because that's all that's left, isn't it? The communication. What else did Hetty tell me about? Now, Ah, I know. The other thing, I said she was really interested in helping the war effort. Well, she noticed that a lot of signals, the torpedoes of the Allied forces, were being intercepted so that the torpedoes didn't get to their target. So she and her friend George Athiel, who was a musician, came up with an incredible thing. Now, the way that sound travels is in waves. So if you imagine that this piece of rope is in fact my sound, watch it move. Can you see how that wave travels down the rope? Now, if I did that again, but I stop, I can intercept it really easily. What Hedy did was the forerunner to Wi-Fi and GPS. She created something called spread spectrum frequency hopping technology. She and George used an electric piano to create a broadcast system that would broadcast across 88 constantly changing frequencies. So if you intercepted one, the signal could just jump to another. 88. Imagine trying to find out how the signal was being passed through 88 different broadcasting frequencies. Like 88 of these all running with the same message. You couldn't do it. Amazing. I mean, it took her till well past her death before she was even recognised. She's still remembered as being glamorous. And that's pretty much it. Do you know what she said to me? She said, anyone can look glamorous. All you've got to do is stand still and look stupid. She definitely was not stupid. Now, that is definitely communication, isn't it? And that's the last thing that I've got to fix. How's a bit of rope going to go into my pack? I mean, it might have illustrated the thing for you, but I wonder what Hedy gave me. Let me look through. What's in here? Hedy, what? Huh. Well, that's one thing. That's her illustrations, bird wings. See, whilst I'm in 2020, I want to go and talk to J.K. Rowling, because do you know what Hedy is short for? Short for Hedwig. Yeah, Hedwig Lamar. And she helped her friend design aeroplane wings based on bird wings. And she devised a system for communication. I went to ask J.K. Rowling if that's where her idea for calling the owl in the Harry Potter series, Hedwig, the owl with the wings and with the communication. But still, that's not going to go in my pack, is it? She just gave me one other piece of paper when I left. She pushed it into my hands and she said, I hope this does you more good than it did me. I thought it was her signature, an autograph. Oh, but it wasn't. Look at that. H.K. Markey. She used her married name because she thought she'd be taken more seriously. Secret communication system. This is the patent for Hedy's design for the spread spectrum frequency hopping system. That will fit in my pack. That's got to be the last missing piece. Right, if I pop it in up here, we've got a solid green on the back. I can program this. Now, let's just see. Oh, it's green. It's green. The whole thing's green. Oh, this is amazing. Oh, thank you. Just talking it all through with you guys has really helped. And now I understand how I can get home. I've fixed the communication, the calibration, the navigation. Now, just got to wait for a little bit longer till it's safe for me to travel. But at least I can talk to Tam now. Oh, thanks so much for helping. I hope you've enjoyed finding out about those people. Maybe, if I'm around for a bit longer in 2020, we could all pop round to see J.K. Rowling and ask her together. Maybe. Anyway, I'll see you again soon. Thanks.